everybody, and welcome back to Ballydorn. Guess I was so excited to come back to Ballydorn, I got started on the intro a little bit too soon there. How is everybody? We are finishing up our oat harvest. This was, of course, a contract that we started, I think, like in early autumn. Then it was a whole bunch of rain. We had snow. Then we had more rain. And finally, the last day of autumn, we have conditions where we can actually get the rest of this contract done. Hey, Kiwi. Hey, Golden High. And the man was here earlier. I don't know if he has left or not. Hey, A-Dub, what's up? Hey, Anthony, Boris, how's everybody doing tonight? Gotta take this down to the watermill, okay. Hey, Mario, what's up? Is that like Mario? Just completely different? What map are you on there, Mr. Dio? Is that Nebraska lands or what? I meant to ask you the other day. You talked about a big harvest contract. I think we've done, oh, Wild West, okay. I think we've done it for ourselves pretty good this year. Remember the first day of spring we started with $0. We owned nothing. Zero. No land, no equipment, no money, and we have fought our way up to a bank account of almost $74,000 at this point. And then we've got some land ownership now. We own the horse farm, we own some equipment. I think if we cashed out, we would be over $100,000. And we still have winter. I was looking, as long as we don't have frozen ground, we should still be able to do contracts through winter. Early winter, we still have the ability to harvest. So we still have a fair bit of opportunity before we have to think about going into the forest. You like the big maps, huh? Oh, the plantation map. So that is kind of more of an agriculture map. I know you've sent some forestry maps over. Oh, I'm doing pretty good. Although I have to say, I've been thinking about what we're going to do after Ballydorn. I really hate stopping maps when we are, you know, just a year in. But really, the only time I play this one is during the live streams. And, well, it makes progress kind of slow. I've actually been thinking about both the Emerald Coast Let's Play and this one as far as what's next. What map is next for both of those? Well, if you've got the time to put into the big maps, then more power to you, that's for sure. For me, I find that they're just a little bit too big, a little bit too involved as far as time frame. Oh, that's pretty cool. On the Train Sim World DLC. Oh yeah, Switchback Canyon was not flat at all, was it? Well, in winter and early spring, do as much as you can. Depending on the geo. If you've got frozen ground, then you're going to be kind of limited to not doing any field work. But if you can do field work in winter, then by all means, do it. It'll make your spring a little bit easier. You'll be less reliant upon good weather. But let's pretend you've got snow on the ground. You could always look at snow contracts if the map supports that, or just generally keeping up with the snow around from the farm area. There's always forestry options in the winter. Get out there and cut down some trees, assuming you can afford to buy the land trees are on, or you don't already own land that trees are on. Winter is when you want to be selling off. Most of your crops are going to be higher priced during the winter. The only real exception to that is going to be soybeans. They typically seem to be higher priced in summer. Wood chips would be good in the winter. Oh, thanks for the sub. I have no idea what that name was, but thank you anyway. What map and what geo are you doing, Mario? Oh, the wrong vehicle. That's a good way to time things out. Basically, working on whatever you're doing in the field takes about a day to do. Rather windy outside. That's why I thought I would come in here and do some in-cab work. Yeah, what map? What map, Mario, and what geo are you using? 'Cause that sounds like an awful snowy start. I don't know anything about the Quebec map. Okay, well, I don't really know much about the Quebec geo either. Other than it's Canada. Canada might be, sounds normal maybe. Really, if you've got snow in spring, there's not much you can do other than if the map has snow contracts. Clear snow, you can clear your own snow around the farm. Other than that, it's forestry work until you don't have frozen ground anymore. And once you don't have frozen ground, then you can start doing your field work. Cultivation, your fertilization, plowing if you're going to do any of that. Of course, you want to look at your ground temps and your geo's planting schedule. Understand when you would be able to plant crops. Yeah, as Genetic said, once you get accomplished what you can accomplish, then it's just speed up the clock to move things along. All right, A-Dub, thanks for dropping by. Well, Jamie, what's your specs and what map? What's your graphic settings? What are your frames? What do the frames look like on, let's say, Ravenport? Yeah, the first year is the hardest because you've got, in theory, the shortest window of time to prepare your fields because you only have spring. Once you get your crop off the field in autumn, or in August, yeah, autumn, then in theory, depending on the geo, you could be doing field work in late autumn, field work over winter, when you don't have frozen ground, possibly even planting during those time periods if your geo allows. Just get that jump start on spring. All right, so what's your... All right, what about mods? You have a whole heap ton of equipment? He said 1080 Ti. So that should be still pretty potent. This 16X doesn't really pull your machine down. What pulls the machine down is a lot of textures and things like that. And I have to say, a lot of the time, 16X maps are often less decorated than standard size maps. So to some degree, a 16X map could actually be easier on your system to run because there's just less textures to load into memory, just less visually to draw, given draw distances and everything. And right there, that's... Let me move my little logo down a bit. Alright, so... those are my specs there. If I unlock the frames, you can see we're well over 100. Okay. 99, 100. I know it's kind of hard to see with vehicle inspect up there. There, okay. Of course, if we're just looking at the ground, we go way high, right? Start looking at the sky. Start looking at the trees. So the game itself is typically frame locked at 60. And overall the game is not, overall the game isn't really CPU bound in any way. At most you're going to be using 4 cores of any one given processor. I found that with the 2000 series of the GTX cards, the GPU really doesn't get pushed very hard. So, for example, one reason I'm thinking about going away from Emerald Coast sooner than later is just the frames on that map for some reason, or the frames on that save for some reason are just, they're subpar. They shouldn't be where they are. So sometimes on that map I'll get frames down in the 20s for no apparent reason, but the load on the GPU will be like in the 40s. Like the GPU's not even trying, it's just giving up for no apparent reason. And I'm running a 2080 Super with a AMD CPU that's got 24 cores. So with 32 gigs of RAM, so you know there's not much bigger. And when your CPU is hovering in the single-digit utilization, and your GPU is barely breaking 50%, and your frames are still at 25, something's going on somewhere. I don't know if it's a mod that I've got in there, if it's just a sheer number of implements and tools on that save, or what it is, but it's just dragging stuff down. But you know, we're not having any issue here, of course, and typically we don't have issues. Just some maps will bring it down a bit more, depending on how they're loaded out with the various textures and details. Mods vary significantly in quality and graphical load. So you can have a mod that you add to your game, and next thing you know, your frames are just tanking. Take that mod out, things pep right back up. You can have things where if you look one direction, you get good frames. You look the other direction, you get bad frames. Something in that visual range where you're getting bad frames is dragging you down. It could be something with a lot of polygons in it. Hard to say. But the first thing I would do is load up one of the two base maps. They are assured to be as optimized as you're going to find, and still have stuff visually. And run, maybe as hard as it's going to be, run stock equipment, in-game stuff only, and see where your performance is. And then once you kind of have a baseline of what you can expect, then move into adding, you know, your mods in that you want to play with, and see if any of those have any interesting effects. You know, Courseplay can bring you down because it's a lot of scripting, it's a lot of processing, or can be a lot of processing, especially on really big fields. If you've got a lot of horses running. Auto drive, I don't have any experience with that, but I expect that would be very similar. What resolution are you running at? So I typically play at 1440, and then I stream at 1080, so I use OBS to down rev the resolution. And then I also typically have everything maxed out. I've got max view distance and everything. That's something else to look at. It would be, what are you running? If you're doing, okay, so you're running the 1080 Ti at 1080p. That shouldn't be any issue whatsoever. We know some maps have more of a graphic demand than others. So maps like Emerald Coast, Nebraska Lands, they're going to be a bit more demanding than base Giants maps, for sure. Maps that have a lot of trees, I've found certain types of trees can really drag you down. you're looking at a big grove of trees, your frames could drop. If you look away, your frames pop back up. And I think we don't have settings there. Adjusting shadow options in the in-game menu, that can sometimes help. Yeah, and I think it is a lot of trial and error, but I also think that a lot of people's problems are 100% mod related. There are a ton of very bad mods out there for PC. There are a ton of very poorly optimized mods for PC. The one thing would be to look in your game log.txt file, which is in your Farm Sim 2019 folder, the same folder as your save games in your mod folder. And look at that. Look for anything that says warning, error. Look for anything that's basically related to mods not loading because of bad file name, not supported for this particular version of the game. Another thing you can do is only have the mods in your mod folder that you're actually using. So, you know, we'll see folks, they'll be on and they'll brag about how they've got 5,000 mods in their mod folder. And then they might complain about stuff not working. Well, one thing is that when you load up the game, okay, when you launch the game and before you even get to the main menu, all right, the game loads every mod in your mod folder into memory. Basically reads every mod in your mod folder before you even get to the main menu. And then once you have selected your save game, then it displays the list of mods in your mod folder for you to activate or deactivate for that particular save game. But all of those mods have already been read into memory. So depending on the amount of memory you have, speed of memory, the fact that you've got a ton of mods in your mod folder could be impacting your game's available memory before you even get a save game loaded up. It's also possible for a mod that is poorly executed, that is not activated, to actually be affecting your gameplay. But again, it's just general best practice, even though you don't have to. General best practice would be to minimize the number of mods in your mod folder. What I do is I've got multiple mod folders, and before I load up a particular save game, I'll just rename it. So, like for this map, I've got a mod folder called Bally_Mods. For the Emerald Coast series, I've got a mod folder that's EC_Mods. And before I load up this game, I'll rename the mod folder that I had to whatever map it corresponds to, and I'll rename this one Bally_Mods to Mods, then launch the game. There are mod folder switchers, as Mr. Dio pointed out. I really don't trust them, but I'm rather tech savvy, so renaming folders isn't that much of a concern to me. But check your logs.txt file and see maybe you've got a nasty mod in there that's just spamming the log file with Lua errors. If it is, then if you can diagnose which mod it is, get that thing out of your mod folder. Don't just deactivate it. Move it out, and see if your frames pop back up. And do note that typically your log text file is going to recycle every time you launch the game. If you enable the if you enable the developer controls, then you can pull the log up anytime you want, just by hitting the tilde key, like that. So let's just walk through this log just for funsies, okay? Ignore all that. Ignore all that. Okay. Let's get somewhere where we can read this better. Alright, so let's just look at the log file just for funsies, okay? So this starts when I double-clicked the Farm Sim 19, basically, shortcut. Okay, so we get a little bit of a rundown on the physical system. Okay, so I've got a Thrustmaster wheel, basically running Direct3D 11. We've got an NVIDIA GeForce RTX 2080 Super. We're running at 2560 by 1440. Okay, then here are my graphic settings: custom, very high, view distance, blah 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 blah. All right, it's still loading the game. Okay. There's the game version from Steam, and I still haven't gotten to the main menu yet. Now I'm loading in DLCs and mods. These are all the mods that would be in the mod folder. Basically, it's loading all of those mods in. Still haven't gotten to the main menu. Okay. I've got something that's basically spammed my key bindings, so don't worry about that. Alright, so right around here is when we actually pick our save game and start loading the actual save game. Okay? So now that we've actually picked our save game, now it's actually loading the map, loading the save game. And the first thing it's going to be doing is scrolling through and loading the map, the things within the map. Then once it does that, then it's going to start loading in each and every mod. And you're going to see right next to each mod typically a time frame. That's basically how long it took to basically load that mod in. This is also where you would see various errors or warnings. And then now we're fully loaded in. So yeah, I don't have easy dev tools loaded on this game save. That was all the log. I was just kind of running down through the log, different sections. I mean, one thing that I do, and I wouldn't recommend it for everybody, but whenever I'm loading up a new map, I always load the log up and show the log and look at the log when I'm looking at a map for the very first time, definitely. There's been lots of maps that I've downloaded, launched for the very first time, and as soon as the map loads up, I immediately close it and delete it because it's just riddled with errors. Now, visually, in game, it looks fine, but the log is spammed with will be spammed with all kinds of warnings and errors and other things, and they'll add up. That'd be another good habit to get into, would be when you before you introduce a new mod into your save game, fire it up in a test save and just load it in, buy it at the shop, pick all the options, look at the log, and just see if there's anything that comes up. Sometimes that will not introduce any issues. Sometimes just the mere fact of a few mods being used together can cause issues. Yeah, it can fall into a lot of trial and error testing, trying to figure out where your issues are. Now, let me give you a real world experience just tonight, okay? Just tonight, I could have lost my Emerald Coast game save due to a questionable mod. So I had added something into the save game. It worked fine in testing. It's worked fine on other maps. Bought it and loaded it into the shop. And then I went to just save the game, and the save just froze. It just hung. Just sit there for I don't know how long. Many minutes it just sat there spinning, saying it was saving. So eventually I just force quit the game. And when I launched the game back up, then Emerald Coast game save was gone. Empty. Well, I happen to have backed up that save game just last night. So I just restored that back up, and now we're up and running again. But had I not backed that save game up, it would have been a totally different story. So if you're interested in how I back up save games, I did a how-to video a while back on a great little application that you can get off of GitHub that allows you to basically quickly back up and restore save games. It keeps track of multiple iterations of your save games. Really great little tool. Worth checking out for sure. That would be in the how-to playlist. Oh, it's a really handy tool. You launch it for the first time, you basically tell it where you want to save your backups to. Then at that point it scans your farm sim folder, plays you all your save games, and then they're nicely color coded. Right, so once we deliver this, we will complete the contract and see what else we've got going on. What's up, Darren? So everything that we've got in the trailer right now is free oats. Actually, I want to take these down to the horses first. Give them a little free oats. Guess I should turn traffic back on. Jacob, I do a little bit on the Emerald Coast series. Really, for the most part, it's just too big. The maps that I'm currently playing on. Before I go all the way down there. Yeah, they don't even need oats. We'll just sell them. Oats. Bean. Back there. It is indeed back that way. I thought it's a sell point up on the hill. I really like it when the beacons are out of sync. They're in sync like this on the tractor, it just doesn't feel right. All right, so let's see here. What do we got? We got a bunch of fertilizing. We're definitely not baling. Sowing contract. Did we ever sell these BGA bales? We did not. Go down here. They got to be silage by now. We're going to sell those. What maps are you guys eagerly and waiting for? I know Genetic J is going to say East Coast. I agree. The little carrot that was tossed out there seemingly years ago. Jacob, that's an auto gate. So that opens just being close to it. There used to be a mod in 17 that allows you to click while you're in a tractor to open a gate. But that's not made its way into 19. Well, hello, GTX. Welcome to the stream. Well, Jamie, that's great work. the Sandy Bay update, or are you on console, Dean? I don't think console's gotten Sandy Bay yet at all. Hard to believe it's not even 4 o'clock in these long shadows. Lights are turning on. Yeah, like I said, when you load the game, it basically reads every mod in your mod folder before you even get to the main menu. Oh, you went to Giants in Switzerland or wherever they're at. Oh. I was like, I know I used this before. Kiwi, yeah, I added that to customized seasons. I really should have got the weight. Steam, I'm around 1,800 hours. I don't know. Not that I know of. Not aware of any update to the custom lighting. I didn't know there was an issue with it. Hey Tom, what's up? Well, one thing is, lots of folks don't like the sky in 19. In 19, we've got a dynamic sky, meaning the clouds, you can see the clouds move. We have cloudy days, we have non-cloudy days, different amounts of clouds. In 17, we had a pretty picture. We had a static skybox. It looked really nice, but it never changed. So it was always the same skybox, day in and day out. It's pretty. It's always the same. Now, after 19 came out, there was a mod for 17 that let you basically have a skybox rotator, where it would change the sky every day to a different skybox image amongst a collection, but still it was a static image. I don't know. Now I'm not in Oxygen David's private group, which is where that was originally posted. But the guy that did the textures reached out to me and asked me if I would be interested in doing a video on it. And I basically told him that, yeah, I would do a video on it, but I only did videos on things that were publicly released. So he then released it over at Nexus Mods. Let's say if there was an update, go to Nexus Mods and see. If there's no update over at Nexus Mods, and I don't know anything about it. Well, Tom, that's as high as my arms will reach. I used a bale trailer to unload these. So that's as high as I can go, is 4 high. If I could reach higher, then I'd just pull 2 down. Hey, Alien Jim, what's up? You're an hour early. Alright, you know where we'll be. We jest because so oftentimes Alien Jim will drop by right toward the end of the stream. Oh, no rear weight. I left it down to Horse Farm. You can make straw pellets from loose or baled. If you do loose, you gotta have the You gotta have the bale conveyor belt detached. I don't think I have that activated here. No, I don't have it activated. So I knew I'd never have any money to buy it. But on 19, if you have the bale conveyor belt connected, the loose pickup wheel is gone. It's like disconnected. I was pretty sure in 17 you could just leave that bale tray table folded up, but still use it in the field. In 19 you can't. It's either disconnect it and you can pick up loose, or you connect it and then you process bales. Oh, did spring forward. So did clocks just change for you guys? Because clocks changed for us crazy folks in America like back in March. Because, you know, doing what the rest of the world does makes no sense. We have to have our sense of identity. I think the weight would be based on how strong the attacher points are for the tractor, how strong the actual steel of the loader arms are, the capabilities of the hydraulic rams, and possibly the oh, look at that. That's nice. That backup light. I'd say it probably would vary per tractor. Field 41. Oh, the big potato field. We didn't get to do the potato harvest, but we get to fertilize it. Love this little spreader. Perfect for a small map. Cheap. Bit of a pain to back up. Now, with the pellet press, I will say that if you use a big harvester, the big header, be careful because that mod has something in the scripting that basically limits the amount that it can take in, the amount of material it can ingest. And if you try to run too much material through it, it will just cut off. In fact, I will demonstrate that on Friday's video this week, where I use the big Kloss harvester with the grain header. And I'll have to go real slow through the end rows, or through the ends, where like the harvester stops and backs up and there's a big pile there. And if you just try to trudge on through, it will just cut off. Too much material through it at once. But if you take your time and just, you know, move forward a little bit at a time, then it won't cut off when you get to those areas. Of course, if you use a harvester with a smaller header, that's not so much of a problem. All right, Jacob, thanks for dropping by. Really getting a sense, I think, of the lighting changes with seasons and the extra lighting. In this kind of dusk period. Just going around the field, really just looking forward to that 95% completion. Then once we finish this contract, we will jump into winter and see what winter has in store for us. All right, let's go ahead and look at the weather. So decent weather for the first day of winter. Rain the second, snow the third day. Low temperatures. We might get frozen ground on the second day of winter. But what other games are you guys playing other than Farm Sim? Are you a one game pony? I've been looking at and thinking about that Snow Runner. Looking kind of interesting. I haven't done any Mud Runner up until this point, so it kind of looks interesting to me. Ah, Mountain Blade 2. I've heard good things from that. No Man's Sky, Space Engineers. Rust. What is Rust? Workers and resources. That looks really involved. I have not really played anything other than what I've put out in the channel. I mean, quite honestly, I just don't have the free time. I figure if I'm going to be playing something, I might as well share it. Alright, we're just going to leave that here. Dark. And it's only 5, but we're going to go 13 hours. $12,000 from those silage bales? Oh, gosh. Clouds moving across the sky. Pre-dawn morning. $22 is the farm around Hill Farm. Oh, what do we got? Look, we just fertilized that and now they've planted it. Train Sim World, City Skylines. Let's just... What am I doing? I need to go this way. Of course, ATS had an update yesterday. I think a lot of people were hoping to get some Idaho news today, but that didn't seem to come. Been thinking about we're probably going to put probably going to table Oslov for a little bit until there's an update. We're probably also going to table Survive in the Aftermath. until till the next update, which probably will be in a couple weeks after this week's weekend's streams. Thinking about what we're going to bring into weekend gameplay. Or Snow Runner could be a thing. But yeah, I've been really wanting to get back to and dive into Anno 1800 more. I've got maybe a dozen hours on it, if that. I want to play it more. So I'm thinking about doing that. What's that, Mr. Dio? Also thought about restarting Red Dead Redemption 2. I haven't gotten all the way through that yet. And now that OBS can capture Vulkan, I was having really bad problems with the DX12 graphics settings basically crashing on me. See, I'm not into the survival stuff. I think I'm into the survival stuff. It doesn't really intrigue me that much. Well, you know, try to sell me on it. What's the point? What intrigues what intrigues you to play that game type? Yep. We started with 0 money, 0 equipment, 0 land on the first day of spring. Now we are in early winter and we have $72,000. We own some equipment. What you see we're using here we own. We own some land. In fact, now that we have sold our silage bales, we can sell the BGA, and we're up to $100,000. Saw some folks play Dawn of Man when it first came out. They didn't seem to play it very long. I don't know, they seem to this seems to be like one of those games that folks put in their channel for a half dozen videos and then you never see it again. I don't know if it was just so slow paced they lost interest or what. I mean, like Greedfall, that looked really interesting. I was kind of getting into Greedfall. I was watching a guy play Greedfall, and then next thing I know, he just stopped playing it. Like, what happened? It can be quite challenging on hard economy, depending on the map. You know, this map was difficult because, well, you can see all the fields are small, which means the contracts pay out very little. And as an end result, you know, it takes a decent amount of effort. Decent amount of effort to field 8. Right? Or Pfizer. Decent amount of effort, like I said, to get some money. And I don't think we had a tractor of our own until, gosh, until probably summertime. Farming sim, I do use Courseplay very rarely nowadays. I do have videos on it from a while back. Quite frankly, I'm disappointed with it. Personal opinion is they have taken about 5 steps backwards from where it was in 17. I've found it to not be nearly as reliable. And at this point, I only trust it with the most basic of field work. I would recommend a map that you're willing to grind on. I mean, it's not going to be a map that you put 15, 20 hours in and you're a millionaire. You're not going to be buying any land for a long time. I would say maps with bigger fields will be easier because you'll be making more money per contract. But if that same fields cost a lot of money to buy, then you're going to need that money. So it's kind of proportionate, I guess. Ultimately, pick a map that you're willing to grind on for a while. It would need to be a map that has a decent amount of contracts available. What's up, Raznik? So, one thing is you might find some folks have felt that horses are meaningless with seasons, but I think that they're great for start from zero, start from scratch for real. Because one, horses cost you no money to get, other than you've got to be able to buy the land, buy the horse pen, put it on land you own, okay? But you don't have to buy a horse. You don't have to buy 8 horses. You can get 8 horses for free. And you got to ride them, you got to feed them, water them, and clean them. But those horses will pay you money every day. A little positive income every day And when you have no money, a couple $100 every day is a lot of money. So in my opinion, horses in a start from zilch gameplay can be really invaluable to helping pad that bank account. So, like, see here. So here's our horses: 630, 870, 868, 870 per day for 2 horses. Okay, so I'm making $800 a day for 2 horses. Without seasons, they cost $5,000 a piece. Seasons, they don't cost you any money. So 9-day seasons. Okay. So 9, 18, so 36 game days a year. 9-day seasons. So if you take 36 times 800, that's a lot of money. For a little bit of hay, a little bit of oats, a little bit of water. Install horse helper, and there you go. Steady money, keep you in the positive, especially when you start having your own lease payments and things like that. Chickens are decent money if you do the broilers, the ones that are basically $1 a piece, and you buy them as little chicks, and then you sell them after a season for $6 or $7. And you can make $5, $6, $7 a chicken, basically. So if you have 100 chickens, they don't take a lot of food. And you can make $500 every season. Not near as much of a horse, but still, that's $28,000 a year off of just 2 horses. Farm sim, I think they serve completely different purposes. So Courseplay is, you have to record a course. Let's go back. Let's start with AutoDrive. The way I understand AutoDrive, notice I've never used AutoDrive myself. But the way I understand AutoDrive is basically it allows you to send a vehicle from point A to point B without having to actually drive from point A to point B. I think that's all it does. So if you want to send something to a field, you can basically send it off from your farm to a field, and it will do that. But it doesn't actually do field work. It just goes from one place, point A to point B, and allows you to basically map out various destination routes, etc. Courseplay lets you do that, but you have to record the course. But then Courseplay also lets you do field work. So you can create a course on a field and basically have it, like, let's say, this is a good example, is, let's say you have Courseplay mow a grass field, and then you have Courseplay come in and ted the field. You have Courseplay come in and windrow the field, and you have Courseplay come in and bale the field. You could do all that with just a few horses. You can't have auto drive. Won't do any of that. That's how I understand auto drive. So there's different types of chickens. So there are egg-laying chickens that you buy for money. I don't know, 20 bucks or something a chicken. 15 bucks a chicken, and they'll lay eggs, and that's all they do. If you buy a rooster or two with your chickens, depending on the ratio of roosters to chickens, then those egg-laying chickens will start making chicks. And you can either let those chicks grow up to then lay eggs, or you can sell the chicks and just keep the brooding chickens and roosters. You also have then chickens that you basically buy at 0 weight. You basically buy chicks, little chicks, and those are fast growing, fast dying. Basically, they've been bred to live hard, die fast, and they only last for about a season. A couple months, basically, so a season. And you basically buy them for next to nothing, say $1, and you can probably turn around for $8 or $9. So again, not huge money, but a very minimal investment. They don't eat a lot when they're little, but they'll start to eat a lot more once they get bigger. Kind of live hard, die fast. So those are not the chickens you want to keep around for a long time, or they'll die off on you. But if you keep rotating them out, you can earn a couple $1,000s pretty easy. Of course, sheep only pay out with wool, and they only produce wool in spring. Okay, they pay out okay money, but they don't pay out killer money. And once spring is over, they're not going to pay you out anything until the next year. What's nice about sheep is, with seasons and its grazing feature, you don't have to feed sheep from about middle spring until winter. All you gotta do is water them. So they're fairly cheap to keep up. Pigs, depending on the breed, either you buy them at piglets and then basically raise them to fatten them up and sell them for, meat. You get the breeding pigs, and basically you keep the breeding stock around and you just sell off the offspring every so often. And then, the big payout with cows are milk. But you're not going to get any milk from any cow until, at the earliest, autumn. So they don't pay out for quite a long time, because they have to be inseminated, they have to give birth. Only after they give birth do they start producing milk. Oh, way down by the animal dealer. You could always edit the XML if you wanted to hold more animals in the animal pen. It's not that big of a deal. No, you can't buy. Well, you could. You can buy male cows, but cows are inseminated. Basically, the vet comes, and you're not looking. Picks his arm up where it doesn't belong. Does the old fancy moves. And if you're lucky, 9 months later, you got a little half out of the deal. And not all of your cows are going to be inseminated at the same time. So let's say you have 10 cows, 10 females. Maybe only one of those 10 are pregnant at any one point in time. So only one is going to be giving you any milk after 9 months. That's going to be could be a rolling schedule. Okay? So it's not guaranteed money. It's not the exact same amount of milk every day, every season. And then I think after about 2 years, after a year, maybe the cow basically gets cycled back into the breeding rotation. I think it's 9 months while they're pregnant before they start giving milk. Then I think it's 10 months of bearing milk. And then they go through a dry period of 2 months, I think, before they're rotated into the impregnation pool again. I don't know. You'd have to go look at the season's wiki documentation. I've got about 130 on the Emerald Coast series, and I don't know, I make pretty good milk money. Probably 25, 30 grand every few days. Easy. Oh, this was field 36, wasn't it? Oh, I hope I don't think we're going to run out of fertilizer. We're good. Oh, yeah. Yeah. Oh, okay. So 3 months after they're inseminated, 3 months after birth, they can be inseminated again. Well, usually I don't do a lot of contracts. I mean, the start from scratch whole concept is you got to earn money somehow. So that's going to be contract work. I haven't done any contracts on Emerald Coast series for years. Of course, at this point, I own all the fields, so there really aren't contracts to be had other than transportation contracts. So yeah, doing it that way, genetic, you don't have to keep them over winter. And if you really didn't care too much about their growth, you just put them out on pasture, if you will, the entire time. Just give them water. They gain the weight they gain. You've had such minimal investment in their care that even if they only gain a little bit of a profit, it's still profit. They didn't invest all that much time in their feed. $49. It's probably all the way on the other side of the... Oh, you know, we're doing that one because we got to go on the ferry. We'll do the... We'll do this one, and then we will end the stream after we've had a chance to ride the ferry. Oh, no. We're just going to go out here. Ferry time. Nathan, it's not. Basically, there's no interest in pursuing the Giants Mod Hub because there's no interest in dealing with Giants Mod Hub problems. Just today, I saw talked to another modder that's been actively releasing her stuff over on the Mod Hub, and she was expressing frustration with Giants and their inconsistent testing policy, their inconsistency as far as what they wanted out of a mod, basically asking her to make changes to the mod one day and then releasing it on the Mod Hub the next day. And basically her expressing the idea that she's been considering just foregoing the Mod Hub and just releasing stuff on Facebook. With the understanding, of course, that means that consoles wouldn't have the availability of it. It would make her less visible to players. But not having to deal with the seemingly haphazardness of Giants mod testing would make her life better. Yeah, I got a wheel and pedals. So usually if I'm driving in cab, I'll use the wheel. If I'm driving in third person like this, I might use the keyboard. You only need to plow if you have planted a root crop, corn, or possibly sunflowers. Not sure on that, but it's definitely corn and root crops. Those are the only times you have to plow. Plowing gives you a little bit of a boost. Depending on what you plant and how big the field is, that boost might be so negligible that the time it takes to plow might not be worth it. It's a Thrustmaster T150 is the wheel. Off we go. Oh man, I think I might have to clean the windows. All right, hold on. I gotta sound the horn. Yeah, the T300. I mean, it's the bigger brother to the T150. In Farm Sim, you don't really have any force feedback, so you know, other than if you've got some other reason to look at the T300, it's just more money. You do other driving games, then you may prefer the T300. I suspect it would have a little more potent, a little more powerful and force feedback, but in Farm Sim there isn't any feedback. Hey Jake, yeah, the ferry comes with the map. Sun's glaring on me. Oh, we're gonna back in. Maybe we don't have to back out of the ferry. Yeah, well, those other games definitely have force feedback. Yeah, I used the 150. I think it's fun. Works for me. But yeah. Oh, I don't know if Stone Valley will be out in a few days or not. Hard to say how many times they'll go back and forth. Yeah, I've got the T3 PA pedals. Alright, later, Raz. Thanks for dropping by. Like I said, we're going to fertilize this field and then we're going to be done for the night. Jake, I don't know if I'd call it... You'd call it the favorite map. Is that a silage bale over there? Hey, look, I found a silage bale. Way back when. I don't typically have favorites. I don't think of myself as having favorites. Got maps I like, got maps I don't like. Alright, later, David. Alright, later, BJ Boss. Like I said, we're just going to be about done. Any moment now. Usually go about 2 hours. There we are. So up to $116,000. Not bad for one day or one stream. I think we started with $70-some thousand. Oh, where is the... Jake, I do not, for the most part, do mod videos that often anymore. Mostly because, quite frankly, I'm kind of modded out. Yeah, I look at the stuff that comes out in the Mod Hub every day, and yeah, nothing against the mods in the Mod Hub, but for the most part, what shows up, what I see is, oh, more tractors, more trailers, more placeables. That's nice. Every so often something comes along that is actually exciting. But nowadays it just seems like everything is just an iteration of what's come before. Kind of the same reason why I haven't really gone out and done a lot of digging for maps on other mod sites other than the Mod Hub for months. Just haven't really seen anything that's been super exciting. Emerald Coast is a nice map. You've followed the 7-year gameplay that we've got so far on that one. Hey Tom, yep. And each person has their own idea of what a good map is, so you know, I've kind of given up on giving map recommendations because so often someone will say, I'm looking for a map, I want a nice American map. So you ramble off a few nice American maps that you think are nice. Then next thing you realize that they're looking for something that's, well, I don't like flat. Well, you didn't ask for non-flat earlier. You just said American. Or I really like the square fields. Well, you didn't say that. You know, so it becomes this long, drawn-out thing of, well, if you'd give me all your requirements to begin with. Genetic. I was talking about that earlier. I don't know. I would if I wasn't having just interesting frame issues. Earlier today, I was actually down at the pellet factory that I built out, and for some reason, I was just getting 25 frames. 25. Absolutely no idea why I was getting just 25 down there. Alright guys, with that I think we're going to call it for the night. Unless something crazy happens, we'll probably not be online tomorrow. We'll be back. We'll be back here maybe we'll be back here on Thursday. I don't know. Last Thursday we brought up Emerald Coast. Did a live stream on Emerald Coast because I needed to get some stuff done. Friday video. I haven't touched, I haven't recorded anything on Emerald Coast for next week yet. So that'll probably be what I occupy myself with tomorrow. So until next time, happy farming.